Blissful morning. Welcome each and every one of you participants. I'm M.K. Anand from Sea Change Consulting. Thank you very much for taking your time to attend this webinar. I hope all of you are safe at home and working a lot of things from home. Let me get on to the proceedings of this webinar now. Those who are not aware of Sea Change, I thought I'll quickly share a few thoughts about our organization. Sea Change is basically a strategic business consulting organization. We've been in the industry for more than 18 years now. And we help organizations the turnaround consulting, turnaround strategic solutions on various platforms. We are a 100-member organization, like 100 subject matter experts who are empaneled with us over the years. We have been serving industries across all verticals, across pan-India and few countries in the Asian market as well. My partner, my CEO, founder partner of Sea Change is Mr. S. Prakash, who's also has joined here. He's been a business coach, consultant, turnaround consultant, advises for several CEOs and entrepreneurs in the country. About a quick brief about our organization. Now, let's move on to the webinar proceedings. I don't want to talk more and more the word all of us know today. We have been talking for 50 days. I don't want to even use that word. Let's get on to what is possible in terms of solution, what we can do, if at all, from our end, and how do we really make our life simpler, easier, and meaningful with available subject matter experts' knowledge and expertise to make use of it. We are not here to talk on macro perspectives, macroeconomic perspectives. We are going to actually handle the day-to-day challenges of organizations, especially MSME organizations. That's why we call this as Empowering MSME series, which is our vision for the new normal, which is ably supported with our mission, which is survival, which is survive, stabilize, and surge ahead. This is our mission statement for this vision, which is again supported by subject matter experts who are going to come in the form of webinar speakers, subsequently also available for you to talk to them directly and take support services. Hearing the support relief stimulus being announced by Finance Minister and Prime Minister. We heard so many big words: 3 lakh crore loans, collateral-free loans, automatic loans, MSME stimulus, all that. We are reading it in newspaper, television channels, live interviews, things like that, which are all typically like macro perspective for us to know, okay, what's going to happen, what are the policies government has, all that. But finally, when we come down to from 35,000 feet to runway, we need to know how it is going to be benefit to us and how are we really going to utilize those opportunities, the services from the government. In that perspective, what we thought was we would like to combine this webinar in 2 aspects. One is about trying to understand what the stimulus packages are and how it is meaningful to us in terms of how can we really go and avail it. 2, within our organization, we are the masters of our own businesses. How do we handle the cash flow, working capital, costing, and revenue optimization? Ultimately, optimization is what the buzzword today. Exactly to address these micro day-to-day challenges of MSMEs and entrepreneurs, we thought we will host this webinar with a person no less than a domain expertise over the several years. Let me introduce the speaker a little later. Looking at the macro and micro inputs which I have gone through the last 12 hours, I was also listening to Mr. Raghuram Rajan's former Reserve Bank of India governor and current the interviewer at the Wire YouTube channel. A couple of inputs I've captured. One is, the banks so far have given a lot of loans to MSMEs. 15% government banks are under NPA. Now, the more and more loans which government is offering through the stimulus, is it going to add burden in the future? Are we going to be what we call debt trapped? So are we going to get trapped with more and more debts, more and more? Today we are getting money, today we need money. But is it going to create any pros and cons, the future challenges? This is one thought which Raghuram Rajan raised yesterday in the interview, which is very meaningful. Are we going to look at restructuring of our finance, or are we going to add more burden to our finance? So these are some of the questions which I posted to Mr. The speaker today, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, which I think he'll be able to share a few thoughts on that. And on the positives, if you look at it, yes, we have a big 3 lakh crore opportunity. And many MSMEs are calling us, asking us, those who have not registered with Udyogadar membership. Today, people are calling us, can we quickly register ourselves? Can we have access to these stimulus from the government? These are some of the questions which we receive every day. So we are going to address those challenges also, those opportunities also. One of the things which I also noticed that when you are, suppose you are an MSME, you are supplying to heavy industries, large enterprises, those organizations have what we call access to capital market, which means even Mr. Raghuram Rajan was suggesting that why not these enterprises can support MSMEs because they have access to capital market. It is a give and take. It is a support system which we need to evolve within our suppliers, with our principal organization, things like that. If you have a long relationship with your tier 1 companies or the principal company, the OEM companies. These are some of the positives and even the criticality what we observed over the last couple of days after the announcement. However, this webinar is not just going to talk about the government schemes. This seminar is going to talk about how you and me in our own organizations, how do we handle our own cash flow, fund flow, if at all? There is last 60 days, we are not going to office, we are not generating revenue. There is no business happening. So you would have exhausted your ODs already. And how are you going to handle that? These are some of the questions which I posted to Mr. Gopalakrishnan, who is a speaker. Let me introduce the speaker now. Mr. Gopalakrishnan Nadesan is the chartered accountant, almost 1 decade now. He is from a family of a great legacy because the 4th generation chartered accountant from the same family, his grandfather, father, uncle, and himself, and also his wife. So the group of chartered accountants means a lot of wisdom being shared among the family members already, also in the professional network. So Mr. Gopalakrishnan is kind enough to accepted to offer his advice or suggestions based on his wisdom, which he has captured over the last 50 days with his fraternity. With this brief note, I'd like to invite Mr. Gopalakrishnan Nadesan, Mr. Gopal shortly, to take this floor and start his session. Thank you very much. I'll come back to you at the end of the session. It's about 45 minutes. And at the end of 45 to 1 hour session, we'll be having Q&A session, where you can actually post all your queries, if at all you have, in the end, in the chat room. I'll capture those questions. I'll start, deliberating with Mr. Gopalakrishnan at the end of the presentation. Over to Mr. Gopal.
Thank you, Anand sir. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Very good morning to one and all. So just want to clarify if my voice is audible, if my video is clear.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Very good morning to one and all here. So I think we are now having this webinar on a slightly positive note, in the sense after about 45 to 50 days of lockdown, we are now almost on the final stage of our lockdown, and we are actually seeing an end to all this process, and we can finally start our businesses, we can start our businesses. So it is this point, it is very much relevant, because we are now going to start the business after about 2 months. We should be clearly strategize ourselves in terms of how we are going to approach our business. So there are some certain important key things which you should plan well in advance before you enter your business post lockdown, so that it will be easy for you to sail through these tough times. Okay. But before I start my presentation, I just want to share a couple of us. Okay, so the one is that it's been, yes, we are all aware this COVID times has been extremely difficult. It's been extremely difficult personally. It's been difficult on our business. Yes, I agree. Those are all. It's absolute difficulty for everyone. Probably we can say everyone are sailing on the same boat. We're all facing the same problem. Probably the magnitude of the issue slightly varies. For some industries, it's more, and for some industries, it's less. But the problem is common for everyone. Okay. So, but I can see a couple of silver linings in this problems. One, all this while before this problem, we were all doing our business or profession in a particular manner. We were all doing some revenue and the profits were good. We are doing a business, okay. But we were all sticking to our own comfort zones. But suddenly this issue came up, and then we are now forced to look into an entire aspect of our business, the production process, the products that we handle, the kind of service that we provide. Suddenly, right now, we had about 2 months of introspection to look into every facet of our business, and is just making a step out of our comfort zone and do something new, something better. So probably in terms of product or in terms of process, it's just forcing us to go out of our comfort zone and do something better, which probably we wouldn't even venture into. So that is one silver lining that I see. And the second part is, always in terms of how we operate all these years, there will be some kind of lacunas or some kind of internal inherent weaknesses or some problems in your overall business process, or it can be the problem in your finance or product. Now, this gives you a chance to shake up, just cover all those chinks in armor, set it all in position, and probably once the industry and the economy starts, you can just have your books of accounts and your business process streamlined and start it afresh. Okay. And the final silver lining is, this recovery, from what I heard from major economists, is going to be a V-shaped recovery. Yes, this is like now we are on the final part of the first leg of the V. So we are just going down. But trust me, when the moment there's going to be a vaccination, the recovery is just going to be on a much positive note. So assuming if you have streamlined your processes and you have initiated some new products into your businesses, and the recovery is going to happen, the revenue growth and the profit growth is going to be much superior and better than in the past. So that is on the general perspective. So now moving on to this session, where I have been asked to capture some important points or important piece of information or advices that I would like to share to the entrepreneurs at large in terms of handling your finance. Finance per se, it can be your working capital, it can be your it can be your cash flows, it can be your revenue, it can be your cost. So I have tried to compile my own sense of information, which can be very useful to the entrepreneurs going ahead. Okay. And I have also been given a theme for the presentation, which is they want to bucket the suggestions into three aspects. One is, what will be the important aspects that the entrepreneurs have to focus for the immediate survival? Because now we are coming after a break of about 2.5 months. So what are all the important measures that we should take to ensure our survival or just smooth flow through over the course of next 3 months? And the next stage is the stabilization stage or the consolidation stage, where you have to consolidate your business and recoup the losses that you have done in the first few months because of the COVID times. And the third phase is how to just surge ahead of the competition, surge ahead and just drive your business, the top line and the bottom line. So my presentation has been set on these three models. So first on the survival, the stabilize and the surge ahead. So we will first look into the my suggestions on the survival ways during these COVID days. Anand sir, can you go to slide 2? Yeah, perfect. First, for important point that we'll have to address is to manage our cash flows. Okay, so this is something that I think you will be hearing a lot of sessions in terms of how to handle your cash flows and how to handle your liquidity portion. So you're going to start your business after a period of about 2.5 months. So you should ensure a basic amount of liquidity to kickstart the business operation. be it paying your employees, be it paying your suppliers, or setting up a business process, having some AMC done. So you should ensure some amount of liquidity to start your business operation. Yes, agreed. You need some liquidity to start your business operation. So where is the liquidity that I can look into? Okay. I'll be honest, there are really very few options. Probably the ones that comes to my mind, I can suggest. The first thing is you will have to definitely look into your personal savings or funds. Probably, yes, the immediate important ones for your education or for some functions that you cannot touch. But for any other savings that you have in the form of your deposits or mutual funds, so that's something that you should be ready to invest back in your business, because this is a matter of a business survival. So you should be ready to take some money out of your funds and deploy it in your business. And also, trust me, you can invest it right now. When the situation stabilizes, you can always withdraw the money from your business and take it back to your personal investment. That's one way of looking. Next source will be to approach your bankers. Even before the big stimulus package that was announced by the finance minister, most of the scheduled banks like State Bank of India or many banks, they came with their own schemes in terms of what we call it as an emergency line of credit, some kind of a financial facility to help the entrepreneurs during these times. But now our finance minister has made it very clear that all banks will give an emergency line of credit of 20% of your existing outstanding as on 29th February to ensure you have the liquidity and cash flows to manage your business during these COVID times. So feel free to approach your bank, get all the documentations and have that limit ready, because when the business, you are about to start the business, the process should be ready and you should be in a position to withdraw the funds from your bank. So approach your bankers for the additional line of credit. The next part is, in case of some kind of a large projects or some kind of a large contracts, you can approach your customers for some kind of a mobilization advance to start the project. Okay, so it might not necessarily be part of your original agreement, but there is no harm in placing a request to your customer and ask them for some kind of a mobilization advance. I'm sure, especially if it's a large contract or a large project, definitely your customer will be in a position to empathize with you and they can give some kind of a mobilization advance. That's another way of raising some kind of a cash flow. And the final aspect of mustering some liquidity will be to look into your existing working capital, because over the course of 2 months, we will have a significant amount of receivables lying in our balance sheet, and we'll have significant amount of stocks lying in our balance sheet or in our business premises. Just find ways if we can quickly convert those stocks into liquidity. For example, one thing that can introduce, you can give some kind of say a discount or promo sale to instantly convert the inventory into cash flow. Another aspect is you can approach all your customers who have some outstanding receivable with you. Be polite to them, understand, because you have a liquid crunch, they also have liquid crunch. Just tell them, I'm not expecting something a huge chunk from you. How about you make a piecemeal payment of your outstandings on a week on one basis, so that if every week they can pay, say, 1/10 or 1/8 of the cash flows, over the course of 1 month, you would have recorded a significant amount of money, and that money would also help in your weekly cash flows. So into your working capital so that you can generate some cash flow. So these, according to me, are some of the avenues based on which you can muster the cash flows to handle your business operations immediately after the COVID times. That is one. So moving on to the next part is controlling your cost. Yes, this is going to be absolutely essential, because we are opening up the business after this lockdown. So still most of us, we don't have any clue as to how the business is going to be, how the revenue is going to be, how the sales is going to be. Is it going to be the same as before? How long it is going to come to the same levels? Okay. Until we reach that comfort zone, we don't have any choice, but we have to be absolutely frugal on your fixed cost. So when I say this fixed cost, how to go about this process? The simplest way is you take your last year's books of accounts and then plot your monthly profit loss account for all the 12 months of the previous financial year. If you can just plot the monthly P&L, you will know what are all the expenses that you have been incurring on a monthly basis. So thereby you have a fair sense of your monthly expenses. Now, having known the monthly expenses based on your past history, now you will have to analyze each and every expense in terms of its relevance for the current scheme of things. For example, I'm not going to each and every expense aspect. Just to give an example, for the last financial year, you are incurring a sales promotion expense of say 4 lakhs per month. So right now you will have to think whether that kind of sales promotion expense is absolutely essential today. Whether sales promotion expense of that budget, probably you can have a slightly restricted budget, say about 1 lakh. Or alternative way is rather than going for the traditional methods of sales promotion, you can have slightly a budgeted 1 lakh instead of a 4 lakh budget. You can spend on a digital campaign or on a digital media. On a similar aspect, you go analyze each and every expense and see if it's absolutely essential. Another aspect to you might have certain expenses which is like a fixed contract. Say, for example, your rental agreements, say something like your AMCs, say something like your monthly retainers, where you have a fixed contract where you'll be forced to incur. For these, what I will suggest is there is no harm in trying to renegotiate or renegotiate. Negotiation is a very, I don't know if it's the right word. Probably you can place a request. You can place a request to any of those people and see if you can renegotiate your fixed cost, explaining your current situation, market situation. Okay. But the key thing is you should not hesitate to ask, because you might get benefit from anywhere, your rental cost or your anywhere, say your AMC. Just place that request. If that person, if your vendor is empathize with you and he's going to look in a relationship, I'm sure they might consider your request. So that is another thing that you'll have to do. And then one important aspect of your fixed cost, which has been a major problem for most of the organization, is your salary. I'm sure that is a burning question among all the entrepreneurs, because many of my clients have come to me with this question, sir, should we pay? Is it absolutely mandated to pay? Can I reduce? Can I waive? So there has been quite a few questions. I'm not going to give any opinion on any of the suggestions. Okay, that's absolutely subjective based on your business position. If you ask me personal opinion, we should somehow strive to pay the salary, at least the basic amount which would be needed for the employees to survive during these times. At least we should be in a position to pay that amount of salary to a staff. Is my personal opinion. But the final choice, I will leave that to you. But one thing I can suggest is, having made a decision, okay, whatever might be the decision, ensure you call the major representatives of your employees, organization at large, and make a clear communication of your decision. It can be any decision, okay? So you say what is the decision taken, what is the exact existing position of your business, and what is the decision you are taking, and what forced you to take such a decision. Clearly communicate this entire aspect to your staff. I'm sure the employees can definitely empathize with your position, and whatever decision you take, if you justify it properly, if you communicate it properly, they will take it in the right spirit. So that will be my suggestion. And the final bit on the cost part, I will also ask you to relook into your capex plans or your capital commitments, because in the month of February and March, we would be having our own capital commitments in terms of interiors and decorations, being constructing a new building or getting some plant and machinery equipments. Right now, it's the time you will have to relook into each and every decision each and every plan that you had in the past. So probably first thing is you'll have to consider whether it is necessary or not. So for example, something like an interior decoration, you spend about 20 lakhs. Is it really necessary for the course of months? So if it's not necessary, you can just postpone it, or if it's altogether not going to add any value to the current scheme of things, you can shelve that plan at all. The another aspect is to implement the project in phases. Probably you had a plan to improve your capacity, or you had a plan to construct a new building. It's a G+1 floor. Right now, you can stick only the ground floor, and probably the first floor you can do it at a later stage, so that you can implement your capital commitments in phases based on the progress of your business. So these are some of the points that I feel that will be helpful for the entrepreneurs in terms of controlling your cost. So having gone through the cash flows and having gone through the cost, the next aspect that I would like to speak to you is on the break-even point. Just one moment. Let's have a sip of water. Okay, so being aware of your break-even point in this scenario is absolutely essential. Okay, break-even point looks like a technical term. I will just probably, what is exactly is the break-even point? It is that minimum amount of sales or the minimum amount of revenue that has to be achieved by an organization over the course of next 3 or 4 months, so that you don't incur any cash losses. That is, you have made enough businesses to recoup or recover your fixed cost for those months. Okay, so that is the concept of break-even point. That should be our minimum target point, minimum sales point, which you must target over the course of next 3 months, so that you don't incur any losses. Okay, that should be a target. Okay, so you said you will have to set a break-even point, and how to arrive at this break-even point. That's not a very tough exercise. It's pretty simple. First thing is, like I said in the previous para, you have determined your cost. Okay, you have taken historical numbers and then you have introspected each and every cost item and saw which is relevant, and you have capped each expense as to how much you are going to incur. Having known the fixed cost, say we can fix it at 10 lakhs. Okay. And apart from your cost, you will also be aware of your gross margins. Okay. So historically, if your business has been making a gross margin of 10% or 12%, so you will know the gross margin. So having known the fixed cost and having known your gross margin, you will know the break-even point or the minimum sales at which you have recouped your cost. A simple mathematical example will be a fixed cost to say 10 lakhs and your gross margin is say 10%, you will have to make the break-even point is 10 lakh divided by 10%, which is 1 crore. So to achieve a break-even point or the no profit, no loss zone, you will have to make a sale of 1 crore. So with that, there is no loss that you have done. So you achieve more than 1 crore is absolutely fine. That's like the best case scenario. But achieve that as a target, the 1 crore, and work towards that. But even having worked out the break-even point, so that's the first step. Okay. Then you will have to target it into sales mix. What sub-product, what sub-variant are we going to target? Because any kind of business in your own product line, you will have some kind of relevant or essential products and a not so essential product. Say, for example, if you take a jewelry business, if you're going to have a jewelry that is more connected with the weddings, the sales is definitely going to happen. Even after the lockdown has happened, definitely there's going to be some kind of sales happening. But if it's a fancy jewelry or an antique jewelry, that might not be the priority over the course of next few months. So having known the break-even point, the next target will be is to divide the target in terms of sub-product level and then focus on the more essential product for these kind of situations. So that is my point on the break-even point. Okay, contextually though, I'm just going slightly off the topic, but I thought I should share that to you. So when I spoke of gross margin, one thing is it is very curious to know that Apple phones, they launched a low-cost phone strategy last month. So that is why they launched a phone for $400. Okay, typically the phone costs more than $1,000, I guess. They launched a model just for these COVID times with like 50% of their erstwhile product. See, the Apple is something that's known for the brand value and that is known for a premium product. A company with that perception is ready to come with a new strategy of offering a low-cost phone just to stay in touch with their customer segment, just to stay relevant during these times. Despite the cash flow difficulty, they say, I want to offer a low product to my privileged customers. So that is a strategy that I want to just share it with you, but probably you can adopt it to your business based on how you feel about it. So that's on the break-even point on the gross margins. The next point that I would want you to be aware and follow is the government policies. Okay, so the last 2.5 months, there has been a whole host of amendments, notifications, press conference coming from various ambits. So coming from the Prime Minister, coming from the Finance Minister, coming from the RBI Governor, coming from the GST Department, coming from the Income Tax Department. There is a whole host of updates that you should be aware of. It's absolutely essential because you might never know which government measure will help you during these tough times. So if you want to ask me to give some specific things, say for example, first thing is you will have to look into the big stimulus. The first part last week, our finance minister gave it in 5 different tranches or 5-6 different tranches. Go through each and every of those stimulus package measures and see which is applicable to you. So for example, the credit facilities or the TDS reduction, whichever is applicable to you, ensure you are aware of it and ensure you implement it. If you have any kind of query in terms of how it's applicable to you, how it's relevant to you, or how to implement it, please get in touch with some kind of a person advisory, be it your chart accountant or be it a consultant or be it your mentor or well-wisher or friend, anyone. Just feel free to take advice as to how to implement it. So first thing that you'll have to be aware of the big stimulus package that was announced in the last week. And second thing that you have to note is significant amendment that has been happening in MSME definition and the MSME industry per se. So the government has been conscious enough to bring about a sweeping change in the definition of MSME. So they want to cover a wide segment of industry. Now, a company with an investment in plant and machinery of up to 20 crores, a company which makes a turnover of up to 100 crores is now covered under the definition of MSME, which according to me is a big definition change that has happened. So now a wider set of communities and organizations are coming within that habit. So be aware of that, and also go to the Udyog Aadhaar website and register yourself as an MSME, and also please look into the various benefits that are available in terms of interest subvention or the priority lending for low interest rates from banks, or the subsidies that you get on generators. There are a whole host of things that's available for the MSME sector. So just ensure you are aware of that and utilize it to the fullest. The next important thing in terms of the government policies will be your income tax and GST updates. The last couple of months, the government has got lots of changes. It's not any big change in terms of act. It's more a small changes that will help you in paying your taxes, or help you giving you some extra bit of time in compliances. And certain laws they have relaxed as well. For example, in terms of GST, they have relaxed the 2-year reconciliation of inputs. In TDS, they have slashed the TDS rates by 25%. So there are quite a few amendments and quite a few changes have come from the GST and income tax. Please be aware of that, and wherever it's applicable to your entity, please apply that. Next sweeping change will be in terms of the labor laws. The labor laws are something that's also changing quite a bit in the last couple of months. So one major change is the definition of ESI. So now the government has changed the applicability of ESI to the organizations across India. So according to me, a vague look at the interpretation, I can see it's no more, almost most of the organizations will be now covered under ESI ambits. The exceptions that were available in the past will no longer be applicable to you. Please look into the revised definition of ESI and see if you are now covered within the ambit of ESI. And then please also be aware of the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. You can utilize the government's benefit in terms of taking your PF remittances. Feel free to get that help. And then you can also be aware of reduced rates of PF contributions at 10%. So just be aware of all the changes that is happening from the labor law perspective. And apart from these changes in terms of taxes, laws, and regulations, the final bit of it will be to stay updated about all the government norms and regulations in terms of operating your business during these COVID times. So there has been some communication from the central government, state government, and from your local authorities and municipalities in terms of how to operate your business, how to conduct your business organization, how to ensure cleanliness, hygiene, the social distancing measure, how to operate, number of popular people should be present in the organization. Just be aware of all those. The first four are important, but this is even more important actually. So go to the MHA guidelines, just be updated about everything and implement it in your business immediately. So these are some of the 4 important points that I feel is absolutely essential for you to survive through these 3 or 4 months during the post-COVID scenario. That is cash flows, controlling your cost, aware and achieving your break-even point, and staying updated about your government policies. Again, if you see in my presentation, I have left a small note. Okay, so what I feel is a key trait. The key trait that I feel is the ability to adopt, change, and react fast. Okay, what happens even despite your all the best of planning, you may never know what kind of troubles you might be facing in the coming days. It can be a problem anywhere in terms of receivables, in terms of cash flow, not just that. How to bring your employees to your organization, how to operate within your office, how to procure the raw material, how to ensure your finished good reach your customer place, how to, and if you're a service industry, if you're an export, how to send people abroad, how to interact with the clients. There is going to be lots and lots of problems, okay? But you will have to try to visualize as much as possible today and be ready. If at all you can't visualize everything and some problem comes up, you should be ready to react, adopt, and adopt and change to it immediately. The speed at which you can react or change to a problem or situation will ensure you survive and stabilize faster. Okay, so that's according to me is a key trait. So with this, the first part of the presentation on survival is over. We will now move on to the second part of the presentation. Anasa, can you go to slide 3?
Yes. Can you see this, Mr. Gopal?
Yeah. I can see. Okay. So now, we are enough of the survival mode. Okay. So even I'm feeling the survival mode is just to start up. Even I'm feeling so pessimistic and negative about it. So as entrepreneurs, I'm sure everyone will be here, will just sail through or survive through. So there is no questions on that. So let's look at the positive side. Assuming we are going to see the end of the COVID times or end of the I'll take a very optimistic scenario, say about 3 to 4 months time, or by the end of this year, we would have the COVID times will be over, and the business. I'm just in the recovery stage of the field, so our business is progressing. Okay, in that stabilization stage, what are the important things that that the entrepreneur should focus? I've just listed out as some of the points. The first thing that I feel that you should focus on is your working capital. Okay, so why I say working capital? Because a significant investment in your business, apart from your capital commitments, the significant investment in your business is in your working capital. So, and also it's not just a significant investment. Most of the times, the working capitals are funded or leveraged through a bank finance. Most of we got a CCR OD facility and bank, and with that facility only we would have deployed our working capital. So it's absolutely essential that you manage your working capital well. Okay. So when I say working capital management, how to go about managing that? So the three main limbs to the working capital will be your receivables, the next will be your inventory, and final will be your creditors. Okay. So now we will look into the receivable parts. I think receivables, how to go about managing your receivable. The first and foremost thing in managing receivables will be having a clear-cut credit policy with your customers. Okay, and how to evolve this credit policy? You should use your experiences in the past. Look into your experiences in the past in terms of customer, in terms of product. So define a clear-cut customer policy in terms of geography, in terms of product, in terms of customer profile. So just have a variable credit policy and put your past experiences in drafting that credit policy. Having drafted a credit policy, it's absolutely essential that you communicate it to your customers. Either you put it point and blank in the agreement that you sign with them, or worst case, if there is no formal agreement per se, just put it neatly in the sales invoice that you raise on your customer. But all said and done, the customer should be aware of your credit policy. Okay, it's not like a formality. It's a credit policy, and you should make them aware, and they should also stick to that. So that is the first part I will say. And while fixing this credit policy, one main point as consideration, that is your credit period of receivables should be equal to or higher than the credit period that you enjoy from your creditors as payables. For example, you enjoy a credit period of 30 days from your creditors or from your vendors. You should have a maximum credit period of 30 days with your debtors. It cannot go more than that. So you have a credit period of 30 days with your creditors and you have a 45-day credit period with your debtors. You will be caught in a working capital crunch or in a cash trap. Ensure it is equal, or in some case, I would suggest for a beneficial stage, ensure the credit period of your receivable is slightly lesser than the credit period of your payable. So that will help you. And the next part is having a dedicated team of people who follow up your receivables on a periodical basis. Just have a separate dedicated team. Just train them how to go about the process, how to intimate through messages, intimate through mails, and how to make a phone call. It should be very, very polite. It has to be very polite. It has to be a very gentle reminder. But at the same time, you have to frequently interact with them and ensure the receivables are recovered from them on a periodical basis. And then, so have a dedicated team to follow up your receivables. The next part is to prepare an aging statement of your receivables on a weekly basis. In my opinion, you should prepare it on a weekly basis and follow up your long outstanding receivables on a weekly basis. And at the end of this week, you should target your long outstandings, have a clear recovery policy for the next week, so that you should ensure the long outstanding receivables are always addressed at the earliest. And also, this is just a suggestion. I'm not sure if you will have to follow it or not. You can give some kind of rebates or discounts to incentivize prompt payment. But anyway, just a suggestion. You can implement it wherever necessary. And the next thing that I feel the MSME, the people who have registered for the MSME registration, that you should be aware of is you are eligible as per the MSME Act to get your outstanding within a period of 45 days. So that is a privilege that is one of the biggest privileges, if you ask me, for an MSME entrepreneur is your credit period that is mandated by the government of India in a stipulated act. So someone doesn't pay you within 45 days, there is a series of repercussions under the MSME Act. So please be aware of that. If you're MSME registered entrepreneur, it's a 45-day condition. Customer has to pay you. And in fact, on this context, the Ministry of Company Affairs has launched a new form for all corporate bodies across the country, whereby all corporate bodies should disclose their MSME outstandings within 45 days and more than 45 days to the Ministry of Company Affairs. So it's like the Ministry of Company Affairs is just reminding all the corporates that I am tracking all the outstandings to MSMEs. So you will be held responsible and answerable for outstanding to MSMEs. So just be aware of that and make use of it wherever you feel necessary. And on this context, there is also something called as the MSME Samadhan portal. There's a separate portal by the government of India, the MSME department, where they have a separate portal where if you can't recover your money within the 45-day period, that they are ready to step in and ensure they solve that dispute with your customer and ensure your money reaches you at the earliest. So be aware. These are something I want you to be aware of in terms of your receivables. And finally, the simple metric that you will have to track on a periodical basis, apart from your aging report, is to have a constant look at your receivables turnover ratio and your collection period. It's a very simple formula. It's like your average outstanding divided by your average sales into the period. So it gives you the period or time frame within which you are able to recover your money from your customers. So it should decrease actually. As time progresses, the lesser it is better. So it's 50 days, then it should be 45, it should be 30. So lesser, the better. So you're able to recover the money in a fast manner. So these are some of the measures that I feel you should target for a receivables perspective. Then moving on to the second important limb of the working capital, which is the inventory. In terms of inventory, before we go into the aspect of managing an inventory, one phenomenon that I find across the industries or organization per se is a lack of some kind of a system, a manual system or an ERP or whatever you put it. There's a lack of system that tracks your inventory position of your organization on a real-time basis. It's for example, I step into a manufacturing company. I step in now. It's like 11:38 p.m. now. If I ask a person, if I ask the inventory in charge or some in charge to give me a inventory breakup, you can take about 10 minutes or 15 minutes of time. But if within the 15 minutes of data, you should be in a position to retrieve your inventory position completely. When I say inventory, not just the inventory of finished goods manufactured and ready to be dispatched. I want the inventory of raw materials. I want the inventory of consumables. I want the inventory of raw materials in the semi-converted process lying in different lines in industry, the work in progress, the finished goods, some of the inventories that are lying at your vendor, job vendor, or third-party place. A complete track of your inventory. A system should be there in place in your organization to track the inventory on a real-time basis. So, inventory in terms of quantity, inventory in terms of value, both are equally important. The cost of inventory, nature of description of inventory, and the value. So first of all, have a system, design a system, preferably an automated ERP, which tracks all your inventories on a real-time basis. That is an absolute must. Okay. So only if you have this kind of a system to see it on a real-time basis, that's when you can track, monitor, and value your inventory on a periodical basis. So once you have the system in place, you'll have to constantly monitor it for long outstanding inventory or long aged inventories. You can prepare an aging report of inventories and look for these old inventories which are lying in your company for long. That's when you have to take a decision. Either you should be optimistic and say, yes, a situation might come in, I've been approached to realize it. If you can't, then you'll have to quickly find a way to realize it. Either offer some discount sales, sell it at cost, or even below cost. But don't let your inventory stay idle in your organization for long, because especially if your working capital is funded by a working capital finance, please be aware every day that inventory lies in an organization it cost you some way in terms of a finance cost. You get an inventory for you get a working capital facility for 12%, and you're making your inventory lie. Okay, so that inventory, typically the margin of the inventory is 10%. You can sell it at a profit of 10%. If that inventory is lying in your organization for 1 year, it has already eaten into your margins. Your margin is only 10%. your working capital interest is 12%. If it starts for 1 year, if it lies idle for 1 year, you're already looking at a 2% negative gross margin. So don't allow your inventory to lie idle. Just find ways. If you can sell it, if you're optimistic, fine. But if you cannot, just find ways to dispose it at the earliest. Now, how to look into the what are the financial metrics to look into the inventory? So one is your stock aging report. See what are the inventories that are lying in your company for long. Just find. So aging report is one way. The another way is to look into the stock turnover ratio. So typically, you should be in a position to rotate your inventory as much as possible. The more the stock turnover ratio, more your inventory, your working capital levels are also healthy, and your business is also healthy. This stock turnover ratio, the formula is nothing but your cost of goods sold divided by average inventory, and generally it is indicated in number of times. So 5 times, 6 times, or sometimes. The more number of times you're able to rotate your inventory, it is better for your organization. Not just in terms of maintaining your working capital or inventory, but in terms of general growth of the organization as well. Generally, in terms of bank, if they offer a working capital facility, the general yardstick they give is a 5 times. They say you get a working capital facility for 1 crore, you at least make a turnover of 5 crores. So their rotation is nothing but you make 5 times turnover with your working capital. And similarly, for a stock turnover ratio, you can keep it as a minimum, but the more the better. 6 or 7 or 8 times more, it is the better. And this is from a finished goods perspective. And also in terms of raw material, just have a standard operating procedure in terms of how do you make a reorder. So that probably you have a SOP, have a proper production planning in place, so that you have a production plan for a certain amount of finished goods to be produced today. Then the raw material should reach your industry or factory only a few days before it. We can use a just-in-time technique which is followed by the Japanese factory. They don't allow the raw materials or the consumables to lie long in your organization. They plan the production meticulously in such a way they always have the raw material levels and consumables only to those levels which is required for the current production alone. Again, sometimes you would have procured some raw materials and consumables, and completely your production planning might have gone for a task due to some business reasons, and you cannot utilize the raw material. You cannot utilize those raw materials for your production process. In that case, take a quick decision. Either you should be optimistic that you will be in a position to use the raw material again, or simply dispose it at the earliest. Don't have that unused raw material or unused consumable lying in industry forever. This again I see. You would have bought raw materials and consumed for some purpose, but then the production planning would have completely taken a U-turn. Your business would have gone a different direction, and the raw materials and consumables just completely lying in the industry. It occupies your space, it occupies your finance cost. Please liquidate it, sell it at whatever cost it is ready to salvage. Because selling it after 1 or 2 years, you will not get anything. You will have to sell it as a scrap. So that is something that you'll have to tackle. So these are some of the points that I feel is relevant for handling your inventory. So the moving on to the next important limb of your working capital is handling your sundry creditors or your payables and your expenses. Okay. In terms of creditors, I would say, yes, feel free to negotiate for as much credit period as possible. The point which I even echoed before, that is, it has to be higher or equal to your receivable credit period. Okay, but all certain then you have agreed to a credit period, say 15 days or 30 days, whatever. But ensure that payment has been made to them promptly on the before the credit period. Because when I say this, because we should also empathize our credit question. We expect the money coming from our customer to be on time. We should also pay the money to our suppliers on time, because this is a good practice which helps us create the bonding and relationship with our vendor, which will be of great use to you when you negotiate your credit period, when you negotiate your price, when you negotiate your after-sale service or some post-sale service from your vendors. It will be really helpful to you if you are a person, a customer who makes prompt payment. So just as much as you expect your customers to pay on time, ensure you also pay your payables and creditors on time. So these are some of the policies on these are some of the suggestions that I have in terms of handling your working capital, being it receivables, inventory, or your sundry creditors or liabilities. And also be aware of your current liability position. Say, for example, you are now sitting on the 22nd of May. Be aware of what is the immediate short-term commitments or short-term liability as at the end of the month, say 31st May or first week of June. So always ensure to meet your short-term commitments, you have enough fund flow to meet your short-term commitments. So your current assets or your liquid fund should be readily available to meet your short-term commitments. That is another aspect you should be aware of in terms of managing your working capital. So this is my suggestions on handling the working capital. So that's the first part of my presentation. Now, moving on to the second part, which I feel is pretty important, is the costings, SOPs, and the control. Okay, so I mean, I have put three things in one line because I feel all three are sort of interlinked and relevant. So the first thing in terms, I mean, the first thing that I want to speak to you is about the costing. Okay, costing is something absolutely essential for any industry, not just a manufacturing per se. It's equally important for a service industry also. Okay? So it is a kind of a study which captures all forms of your cost, from the raw material, labor, conversion, your selling overheads, every point of cost that you incur till the point reaches your customer. Every aspect of your cost has to be duly captured in terms of costing. And again, when I say costing, one is being elaborate. All cost points has to be captured in the costing. That is one. And also, there should be a costing in place for every product, including its sub-variant, because sometimes you will have one product, but have some multiple sub-variant, I mean, depending on the kind of product. And sometimes a particular customer will add some add-on to the product just to capture some of your customers. You might also have some add-on to those product variant itself. So ensure you have a separate detailed costing for every product, its sub-variant, including the add-ons or additional facilities that you give for each and every customer. It has to be elaborate, complete, and comprehensive. This is something everyone, I mean, I will not say there's no costing study. Everyone does it, but sometimes it's not elaborate and comprehensive. So ensure you do a comprehensive study on that. Because to quote an example, what happened was in one of our costing study, we took a management audit where we analyzed the costing of 6 different product lines the company had. In one of the product line, the company made a small value addition to satisfy the customer requirement. So a couple of small variations that are being made for that specific customer was not duly captured in the cost sheet. So what happened was they were actually making a gross on that particular. When we did that assignment, we identified that to the customer and we identified for the client and we showed it to them. And based on that working, they produced it to their customers, and then they were able to renegotiate the price and ensure they don't incur that gross loss on that particular product line. So ensure you study each and every product line in terms of costing. And also a frequent question crops up whether costing is also relevant for a service industry. It's absolutely essential. As much as relevant for a manufacturing industry, there is also a service costing as well. There are different metrics. Of course, the service costing is slightly dynamic. It's like it differs for a service industry. There are many methodologies involved, but it's equally important for a service industry. For example, you are fixing a hotel and you are fixing a room tariff. You should have some kind of a cost study involved in terms of fixing the room tariff at a particular rate of 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 per day. A cost study has to be involved, and then only the price fixing has to be done. And similarly, if you are working on some project, say you're an IT company or an advisory service, you should do a study in terms of number of man hours that might go into making that particular advice or deliverable to the client. And then based on the deliverables and based on the man hours, you should be in a position to estimate the manpower cost involved to make that assignment. And then based on that costing only, you should negotiate your overall consideration with your customer. So costing is equally applicable to service industry also. That I want to clarify. So this is on the first point on costing. The second point, which I feel everyone should implement the organization, is a SOP. I mean, probably this is a term, this is a jargon that you would have heard from many. Which stands for standard operating procedure. Okay, so the standard operating procedure should be in place for all departments in your organization: purchase, procurement, production, manufacturing, finance, working capital, customer relationship. For any department in your organization, you should have a clear standard operating procedure in place. Because the reason I say why the standard operating procedure is essential, because it gives a clarity to the people. It gives a clarity to all the employees of any department. Everyone knows what is the job. So how a particular job has to be done. What are the steps involved in it? So it should be easy and it should be in simple words and it should be like a flow chart so that anyone in the organization will know what is their role and how to go about the process. Okay. So it brings about awareness among all your employees. And it also reduces the dependency of employees on the superiors or the top levels. The more elaborate SOP you have for all departments or all sub-functions or all sub-process, the more you can delegate the work to the lower levels. A delegated and a decentralized environment is possible only if you have a clear standard operating procedure for every department, process, and functioning methodology. And not only that, apart from having a clarity of role and apart from the fact that it facilitates delegation, there are a couple of points also. It brings about a quick reaction time. Assuming there's a for example, there's a customer grievance. We are speaking of a customer relationship team, and there's a customer grievance from a side. What is the immediate reaction the employee should do? They don't necessarily have to wait for some kind of information from the senior. So what is the immediate reaction they must do in terms of a query from the customer? So it improves the reaction time of your customers. And finally, it brings about efficiency in the long run. The more the roles are clear, the more that you delegate, more they are able to have a clarity on that. It brings about an efficiency in the way people and employees do in the organization. So setting a standard operating procedure is absolutely essential. And one thing that I also happen to see is you set a standard operating procedure. It should not be the same for 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years. Because I see a standard operating procedure in few companies, but it's like, say, what has been evolved some 4 years back or 3 years back, they are adopting the same Word document which has been compiled some 4 years back by some senior manager in the past. That's not how we go about SOP. An SOP is a constantly evolving process. You fix a timeline once in a quarter or once in 6 months. You fix up a time when you will have the entire team of the department in one place, and you go through the SOP. You will see each and every point is practically relevant and applicable to the current scheme of things in the organization. And also feel free to get feedbacks and recommendations from everyone in the department, from the lowermost level to the topmost level of the organization. Sometimes the people who will also have some wonderful feedback in terms of having an SOP. So SOP is not a standard document. It's standard in terms of process, but it should also be evolved and updated on a periodical basis so that it stays relevant and useful. So that is another point that I want to say. And then moving on to the next part is having certain set of internal controls and internal checks within your organization. So these internal controls and checks are a way or a form of in a delegated and a decentralized environment. It is absolutely necessary that you should have some kind of inherent controls and some kind of internal controls in your standard operating procedures, so that people will know there's some kind of a monitoring mechanism in place to track all the movements. It's not about trusting people or something. It's a good audit practice to have a certain set of internal controls and checks in place. Sometimes what people does is that these controls and internal checks will be just part of your SOP. It will not even be separately identified as controls or checks. It will just be part of your SOP. People won't even realize it's part of a control measure or an internal check. So just inbuilt your controls into your standard operating procedures and monitor your business process on a frequent basis. A few examples on controls will be like having 2 levels of authority for signature, having job rotations, or asking the people to mandatorily go on leave. So these are some of the internal controls and measures which the organization adopts, which must be part of your organization as well. So this is on the second part of the second important point for stabilization, which is costing, standard operating procedures, and control. Going to the next subject, which is your account. This might look like a very basic point, but something which many organizations stumble upon and find extremely difficult. First thing is your books of accounts should be maintained on a real-time basis. Every day, every transaction has to be captured on a real-time basis. Every day, the transaction has to be closed. On any point of time, at the end of the day, your account should be in a position to audit till that particular date. So there is no postponement of accounting of transactions. And also remember, your books of accounts is not something that is just for the purpose of your statutory auditor or for filing your tax returns or for an auditor or for some government authorities to show. It's your primary source of information first, actually. Your books of accounts is your first source of abundant information for your business decision making for you as an entrepreneur. It's for you first. And then only it's for an auditor, and then only it's for a third party review by a government authority. So ensure you have a proper accounts team in place and ensure your accounts is updated on a real-time basis. Okay, so that is, I feel, that must be done for any organization. And second thing is, have your compliance structured. Okay, have it structured. Either you can open some internal people as an employee who has legal acumen on the acts, or get some external consultants here to structure all your compliances, be it your taxes, be it your labor laws, be it your industrial laws, whatever, or the import and export laws. Have all your compliances and structured. Have a clear schedule in terms of when the compliances and payments to be made, and ensure your compliances are done within time. There should not be any form of late fees, interest, or penalty. Nothing should happen, because as such, paying of taxes itself is a difficulty. Why should we pay interest or late fee or penalty? On top of it, it is only when you file your returns late, or when you make some penalty or late fees, that is when you are actually inviting the government department to have a look into you. It's like the presumption is when you do things on time, there is always a good opinion about you. Okay, something is good about the organization. So only when you do it on a delayed basis, you unnecessarily attract the attention of the department. So ensure your compliance is on time. And also on this complaints, but be aware of the latest amendments happening on the GST, because GST, right from its inception in 2017, has just been constantly evolving. Every once in 3 months, we have a whole host of amendments and notifications. That's absolutely essential that you stay updated. Be in touch with your CA, or be in touch with the government website, or simple ways to follow the Twitter handle of the government finance department or the GST department. Just stay aware of the updates, because why I say that is, sometimes you will have to update it then and then, because they make changes about filings, they make changes about interest rate, they make filing changes about the tariff codes. So you'll have to implement it on a real-time basis. It might be too late when you go for an audit to a chartered accountant to get your GST audited. So you will have to be updated on a real-time basis on the GST amendments. That's something that I would want all entrepreneurs to be aware of. And the final bit is, have a standard template of a management information system. Yes, this is again a word that is frequently used among everyone. That's like what we call it as the MIS, the Management Information System. It's not like it's a very complicated document. It can be a simple Excel file also. A Management Information System is nothing but a certain set of information neatly compiled in a particular format, which will be of insightful to the managing director or the department heads to take their decision making. MIS can be as simple as preparing a monthly profit loss account can also be an MIS. Having a stock aging or a debtor aging can also be an MIS. Having a sales mix, some kind of a ratio, or looking at return on capital employed, or looking at return on equity. So these are some of the simple components of an MIS. So have a set of information that should form part of your MIS on a periodical basis. The periodicity of the MIS you can decide. It can be monthly, it can be quarterly, but have a set of relevant information. Sometimes having too much of information is not also going to help. Having some 25 sheets of data will not going to be help. You will not time or patience look into 25 sheets. Have just 4 or 5 important metrics that you want to track. And in my opinion, the basic amount of ratios, monthly P&L, the ROE, the ROI, the stock turnover ratio, your data collection period. So these are some of the important and basic things that should form part of your MIS. So this is on the third point, which I will speak about the accounting, compliances, and MIS. Moving on to the final part on the stabilization is having a dashboard of operation metrics. Okay. So this is something that even I, as a professional, I understood its significance only in the last couple of years. All this while, I used to focus only on the accounting, the compliances, and the MIS. But what happens is, even the MIS has its own limitations. For example, you prepare a monthly P&L and you suddenly stumble upon the fact the cost of goods sold is going up, or the gross margins has come down, and you sense somewhere the production during the production process, the cost is jacking up in a particular month. and you will not have the data point for that in your MIS prepared from your books of accounts from your financial metric. That's when I understood it is absolutely important to go into the non-financial metrics also. Sometimes the reason for your increase in COGS or increase in cost of production might not lie or might not be visible by we are going through the monthly information system based on a books of accounts, but you will have to look into the operation metrics as well. Okay, what to say as an operation metric? It's very subjective, but I will give my opinion, or it's my you can call it as an example for an industry. For example, if yours is a manufacturing company, I would say that now some of the operational metrics that you can track are the number of shifts, the number of employees working per shift, the shift-wise output, the machine runtime, the machine downtime, the units of raw materials consumed, the units of finished goods produced, the efficiency, the yield curve, the yield ratio of raw materials to finished products, and then what is the quantity of your scraps or residual materials produced, and what is the scrap or residual value, I mean residual quantity ratio, and what is the conversion time or the production lead time. So these are some of the operational metrics that I feel has to be captured for a manufacturing company. It's just an example, but you will be the best authority. Business entrepreneur, you will be the best authority. What kind of operational metrics have to capture so that it will help me give an insight into my business process efficiency, and in turn, I can also analyze and understand its impact on my financial statements. So that I feel so having a dashboard of operational metrics is also absolutely essential. Constantly try to bring about an efficiency. For example, if it's an yield ratio, you will have to ensure there is an efficiency in your yield ratio in the long run. And there are some wastages, you should try to reduce your wastages ratio. So focus on the operational metrics also, because your focus on operational metrics will automatically contribute to your bottom line in the financial MIs. So this is something on the operational metrics. So according to me, these 4 points on the working capital management, the costing SOPs controls, your general books of accounts, your complaints, and a strong MIS, and a combination of a dashboard of operation metrics. These are some of the essential things that will help you to stabilize in the post-COVID scenario and ensure you maximize your profits so that you earn more profits. You recoup your losses during the first initial stage and also maximize your profits in the long run. So this is my point on the stabilization stage. Again, here I have given a key trait. So my suggestion for a stabilization, from a stabilization perspective, what is the key trait that I would expect from entrepreneurs is striving for constant efficiency and excellence. So efficiency in terms of process, efficiency in terms of products, and excelling in what you do, excelling in your products, excelling in your service. This, according to me, is an important metric to stabilize in the long run. So when you say this key trait, you might question might for you, because I have said in the first part, my presentation is going to be survive, stabilize, and surge ahead. So, is it not being efficient and being excelling in what you do? Is it not really the ultimate metric for gaining to surge ahead and conquer the world? I feel it might not just be enough. I mean, it is an important metric as well, but it might not be enough. So, for example, if you want to see, if you want me to go to real life example, I'm sure everyone be aware of the Nokia. Nokia during my school days or during college days was a huge corporate. Everyone knows Nokia. Nokia is so powerful. Nokia, I don't the brand. I understood the perception of brand only when the Nokia phones were launched in my school days and my college days. And suddenly, within a couple of, I mean, during my probably the late, early CA days, Nokia we saw a sudden fall of the Nokia phones actually. So, but be frankly, I've read many reports about this online. They say not much Nokia did wrong in terms of efficiency or excellence or product quality. They were simply offering the best of phones, the most quality phones, the brand person, everything was just top notch. Like as we discussed, being efficient, they were excelling in. But then the reason why some of the reason for the downfall might be, which experts might feel, is because they didn't emerge, they didn't look into the competitive position. they didn't look into the emergence of smartphone market at that point of time. So probably that bit they didn't expect in terms of innovation and a competitive analysis they didn't do at that point of time that contributed to the downfall is what I read. So that's why I say not just trying for efficiency in Excel might be good for stabilization, but it might not be the ultimate for surging ahead. So now I have one more slide on the surging ahead part. Anna sir, can we go to the next slide?
Mr. Gopalakrishnan, you have another 10 minutes to close the last slide. And then we need to take a Q&A from there. All right. Yeah, thank you. 1 minute. Can you see the slide 3?
Okay, so the final bit of presentation is how to surge ahead of your competition, or how to be the best in class in whatever industry or whatever product that you handle. How to be the best. So this is my perception, because this is beyond finance. It's more strategic thinking actually. So this is my own perception about being the best in class in the industry. The first thing that I realized more so during this COVID time is embracing technology. Many of the leading companies have embraced technology to simply surge ahead actually. In fact, most of the common leaders are the emerging companies that you see in the world today, the top 10 or the top 15 best companies in the world, have some kind of technological backing up to that company. Whatever you say, Google, you say Amazon, you say Apple, everyone has some kind of a technological importance to them. So ensure we embrace the technology as much as possible in our business. So it can be everything. Say, for example, hosting your data and backups on cloud, or having a strong ERP system which covers all the operation and the non-financial metrics. It can be having a simple mobile app which gives a complete information about your products and staying in touch with you. Having a superb website which gives you a complete history of your products and it gives the data to your customers. And last but not the least, making your promotion visible through the digital marketing. We don't stay restricted to the traditional ways of marketing, but we also go for the digital marketing space. So whereby we can reach out to the customers across the world. So these are some of the ways I feel we can embrace the technology and scale up our business. That's number one. The next part is the constant innovation that we should do in terms of our products, in terms of our process, and in terms of marketing. Because why I brought 3 limbs to this is that innovative product is something that's different. Okay, so because not everyone can think of an innovative product, because even for most of the customers, I mean, most of the entrepreneurs who came up with an innovative product, it's more like a eureka moment. It just strikes and then they cash upon it. But if you can't offer an innovative product, you can always bring about an innovation in your process or in the way you market. I just take a quick example of the product, process, and marketing. So if you ask me what is the innovative product that I see right now, is the famous Byju's app. So Byju's is the education, because many of the traditional way of education is investing in some huge infrastructure, investing few crores of money in buildings and employing so many staffs and teachers, and that's how they were doing the traditional education method. But this guy suddenly developed a mobile app, and they brought about a way of teaching the education through the mobile apps actually. It's a completely new thing. And the result of this new product is they were able to add 6 million users during this COVID times. So close to about 60 lakh users have availed the Byju's app during this COVID time of 1 month. So which accordingly is phenomenal achievement when the whole world is struggling to retain the customer level and business. Some person has just grown up by a phenomenal level with 30-40% product. And number 2, in terms of innovative process, some example that I want to quote is the look at the ID Fresh product. I'm sure many of you have heard about the ID Fresh product where they make the dosa and idli batter. Definitely, if you ask me, is there any unique about the product? It's absolutely not unique. How to make an idli dosa batter is something everyone in our household, all across the country, they know. But what they did unique was the way they procure the raw material, the way they project the brand, the way they establish the distribution, the supply chain. So the way they scaled up, the innovation in setting up the business process, them in surging ahead and establishing a huge industry. And to be frank, now they've also brought about innovative product. So they launched a new vada making product where they say now they're stepping into innovation product apart from being innovative in process as well. And final bit on innovation and marketing, I'm sure everyone would have gone through a recent WhatsApp image where a parceled restaurant is making a home delivery in a small in a packed food delivery, has a small sachet of hand sanitizer stapled to that packing, and they say please use the hand sanitizer to clean your hands and clean the entire packings. That image, I'm sure I have seen it in more than 5 or 6 groups. That image went viral across the entire social media space. That's a kind of an innovative marketing. I don't know if they did it for a marketing or truly can innovative in process as well. But that is the power of the social media and marketing. So you can also be innovative in marketing and stay ahead. So that's on the innovation part. And next is something called as red ocean strategy and the blue ocean strategy. It's a long theory by itself, but I'll just put it in a very simple words. The red ocean strategy is nothing but you imagine like you visualize a red ocean where there are very few fishes, but there are lots of fishermen on the top trying to catch hold of very few fishes. On the contrary, a blue ocean is like it's not like so less. I mean, there are less number of people on top fishing, but there are large amount of fishes, or there are large big fishes waiting below to be caught in the net actually. So the perception here is the red ocean strategy is when you try to compete in an existing market for an existing product with huge level of competition, where you will have necessarily earn or you should do a value cost trade-off to survive and to do better. So that's a red ocean strategy. A blue ocean strategy is when you target a niche segment. You target new niche segment in terms of a new service line, a new product line, or you move to new geography per se, where you make the competition irrelevant. So because you find that kind of a geography, or you establish a new product segment where there is no much of existing players, whereby you eliminate competition, you don't have to do a cost value trade-off because there are hardly very few people left in the market. That's when you can dominate the market and you can dominate the industry. So that's why everyone think if your existing product lies in the red ocean strategy or in blue ocean strategy, and you can strategize accordingly. But small thing, assuming say 80 to 90% of the people will fall in the red ocean strategy, we'll all be doing some part of businesses that fall in the first strategy. No harm in it. But if you say I don't have a choice, I cannot suddenly think of shifting into a blue ocean strategy, then no problem. That's when the first 2 points makes even more relevant. You will have, if you are staying in a red ocean strategy, definitely you will have to embrace technology and stay innovative in your process and market to stay ahead of your competition. That's on the third part. The final part, I don't want to elaborate, just a simple way of staging head is to horizontally integrate or vertically integrate. Horizontally integrate when you continue to do what you have been doing, just that you improve your capacity, install more machinery, install more units, try to go into new geography, and do the same level of business. For example, you are manufacturing something, you continue to manufacture, improve the capacity, and drive your volumes. The vertical integration is when you try to move into an upward chain or the downward value chain. Either if you are a manufacturer, you will have to see if you can procure or make the raw material yourself, or you can see you are a manufacturer if you can do some bit of the sales. You can have it. It's like an Apple manufacturer also have an Apple showroom. That's a designated Apple showroom. They're also manufacturing. They also have they want to have a share of the next value chain as well. That's the vertical integration. And finally, you can drive your business by launching some new products. So these are some of the ways in which we can surge ahead and stay ahead of the competition and conquer your existing segment and sector in whichever place or whichever geography you are. So according to me, the key trait for surging ahead is the constant ability to innovate everywhere in your product, process, and marketing, and always stand apart from your customer. Always, when a customer comes to you and after availing your service or availing your product, that they should have some carryover effect after consuming your service or product. That carryover effect about you, something should keep reminding them about you, so that they come to you quite often, and they also become your marketing tool as well. They promote you on a various fronts. So this, according to me, is a key trait to surging, which is innovation. So with that, I come to a conclusion on my presentation. I hope I've taken a slightly extra time in terms of presenting my slide. I've taken 15-20 minutes more than what I'm supposed to. I'm really sorry for that. Now we will take up some questions. Anna sir, you can take over the.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, and you have really did justice to the whole session of this webinar. Thank you very much, one and all. And now we quickly move into the Q&A session. So we have 15 minutes. In fact, we have scheduled 90-minute session. So we have another 15 minutes to go to wind up this session. So if you have any questions, please post it in the chat room so that I'll be able to share these questions with him. Meanwhile, I can quickly ask a few questions to Mr. Gopal on behalf of the entrepreneurs and MSMEs. Is it okay, Mr. Gopal?
Absolutely, sir. Please.
Okay. Some of the questions which I received in my WhatsApp is this. Which kind of businesses are eligible for MSME benefits? Are traders eligible for MSME registration?
That's been very, the government has made it very clear about it. The MSME Act clearly states only the manufacturers, people who are manufacturing products and service providers, any form of service provider, are eligible for MSME registration. So trading activity or any form of trading, wholesale, or people who are in the middle of the chain between manufacturing and ultimate consumer, they are not eligible for MSME registration. It is only a company which is into pure manufacturing or company which is into service are eligible for MSME registration and its benefits. That has been clearly given in the definition of MSME Act, and they also have a specific FAQ for that in the MSME website.
In fact, one of our MSME members in our fraternity, he is a trader. He runs a puja store in Kanjipuram. And in fact, he has availed Mudra loan. Though he has not registered with the MSME Udyog Aadhar, he has availed Mudra loan. And because end of the day, looking at not just about manufacturing organization or a service sector, there are organizations, they are simply a traders. Hundreds and thousands of traders are in the society. So they're all need a working capital. They need to survive, no?
Actually, what happens is the registry, if you ask strictly if they are covered, they are not actually. The definition reiterates more than 100 times in terms of its applicability. But what happens typically if you go approach a bank, the priority sector classification is based on what the bankers decide. It's based on the turnover, it's based on the volume they are in, and based on the credit worthiness, they categorize and they do that actually. Yes, I do feel sorry for the traders at large, but if you strictly ask me if they comply, it's not within the meaning of the MSME definition. Somehow we'll have to find a way to that. Or probably we can place a request to the government on that front.
Okay. So the next question which is coming up here is, how will a cash flow statement help in the decision-making process?
Cash flow statement is a simple statement. So it's many people think it is a cash flow statement. No, profit loss account is not a cash flow statement. You will have to jot down your projected. For example, you sit right now. You're going to start your business in the first week of June. You should be in a position to estimate what kind of cash flow that you'll be running from your daily business organization, because that cash flow has to be factored based on the portion of your cash sales and the portion of your credit sales and your credit period. You will have to factor everything. It's your existing sales, the collection from your past receivables. So you'll have to track all your cash inflows. And then your cash outflows will be the amount, the immediate payment that you have to make payment to your creditors based on the credit period, and all your fixed commitments, your salary cost, your capex commitments. All those cash inflows and outflows has to be neatly captured in a statement on whichever format you like. And ultimately, you will have to decide and see if the cash receipts is more or the other way. Assuming if the cash outflows are more than the cash inflows based on the projected statement that you have prepared, that's when you will have to find, what is the kind of deficit you're looking at for the next month. That's when you will have to make a suitable arrangement for funding. Say, for example, your cash inflow is 1 lakh, your cash outflow is 1.2 lakh. For the 20,000 rupees, you'll have to find a way. Either you take it from your personal funds or you get a bank finance, go for the and ensure it is bridged. So it's absolutely gives an insight into how to go about your cash flows and what kind of leverage levels you want to do. So it gives you a complete insight about that.
Okay. Thank you very much. And the next question is, can you throw some light on the Startup India initiative, which we've been hearing for a long time?
Definitely. It's a acronym is one of the excellent initiative by the government of India. So I think it came about some 4 or 5 years back. There's a separate industry called the TPIIT, so which drives the innovation across the country, the innovative companies to start up. So the main scheme, there's a separate website. There's a separate website called startupindia.org. So it has complete information about it. But so I'll give you some of the major informations. Major information like they get once you apply for the Startup India initiative through the government website, you will be recognized after a certain set of information. Once you are recognized as a startup, you get some tax incentive. That is, you don't have to pay income taxes for about 3 years, and then you need not be subjected to angel tax at the time of investment by a private equity player or an angel investor. And then you get some liberalizations in terms of labor laws. That is, there will not be any third-party inspections for the early years of your labor laws. And then the winding up the process is also very easy. And they will also fast-track the intellectual property applications of startup schemes on a faster basis. They give an 80% priority over your existing applications. There's a whole host of benefits for getting yourself registered as a Startup India with a Startup India initiative. So you can just Google www.startup.org. It gives a complete information. It's actually, if you are an entrepreneur who have just started the startup journey, please go register for it. But the only catch is it's only for a corporate body. They don't accept non-corporate bodies for the Startup India initiative. That is one primary restriction in terms of granting that recognition.
Okay, that's good piece of information to entrepreneurs. And the next question is any important ratios and financial indicators entrepreneurs should be aware of?
Absolutely. So, like I said during the presentation, so one is the cash flow statement is an excellent tool for that. And in terms of ratios, if you ask me, first important thing should be your return on capital employed and return on equity. So what kind of return that you have made at the end of a period, say a month, quarterly, or year? What are the funds that you have deployed in your business and what kind of return you are earning? That is one key metric in terms of your financial health. So next, in terms of see how well you are managing your working capital, you will be looking into your current ratio and your liquid ratio. And like I said before, you can also look into the stock turnover ratio to see how well you are maintaining your stock turnover and the data collection period to see what kind of how frequently you are able to recover the receivables from your debtors. And from a financial perspective, you can also look into the gross profit ratio and the net profit ratio, which gives you what kind of margins you make at the top level, and what is the net profit ratio, which gives you that you maintain as a bottom line for the company as a whole. And you can also look some leverage ratios, like the debt equity ratios, like how well what is the ratio between your debt and your equity, because debt equity ratio is something that the bankers and the financial institutions will be interested when they give loans to you. So these are some of the ratios that you can take note of while analyzing the financial statement.
Okay. So another couple of questions which has come up in the FB Live as well as the WebEx chat. Let me go with the WebEx chat question now here. Anshu Arya has posted this question. What are your suggestions to MSMEs who are looking to raise capital in the form of equity and collateral-free debt? So, especially during this COVID days.
Debt is slightly the easiest part, because right now even the finance minister has made it very clear that 20% additional line of credit for which the government has allocated 3 lakh crores. That is, the government is going to guarantee 3 lakh crores of loan, which the banks are going to give as a 20% additional line of credit to all the existing customers. Is absolutely collateral free for the simplest reason. It is guaranteed by the government of India. So I would suggest you go approach your banker to secure that interest the collateral free debt. On the equity, there's a wide host of options. In the sense, you can approach some angel investors, you can approach some incubators. So there are many startups. You can also target some high net worth individuals. There are many forums. There are many entrepreneurial forums and fundraising forums that are available in the country. So where you can get in touch with the private equities, the venture capitalists, the angel investors, and the HNIs, So who will be ready to look into your business model? It's more so here the catch will be what kind of unique product and unique process that you're operating, and based on that they'll be ready to invest or take part in as an equity stake in that. And the interesting part is even the recent announcement by the government. Apart from the 3 lakh crore, the government has also allocated 50,000 crore as a fund of funds, whereby the government is also ready to participate as a good equity participation as well. They're saying, we are apart from granting collateral fee, guaranteeing the collateral fee debts, they're also ready to participate as equity investments in MSMEs, and so that they can handhold you during the initial phase, and then they can gradually list your companies in the stock exchange, so they can handhold. So that is also vision that has been created and announced by the finance minister.
Okay. Thank you very much. And another question is posted here in the FB Live by one Mr. Vivek Anandar. He was asking like the same thing which we discussed in the beginning of the presentation. Getting the loan from banks nowadays becomes easy, sort of becomes easy. I don't know how to do, and which should not have burden in the business. This is what I think in the beginning I've said. Even Dr. Raghuram Rajan, former governor, mentioned, are we going to get into that debt trap? Because because loans are available. Yeah. What's your take on that?
Absolutely, sir. So what I would suggest is, just because even for many other people who have been asking me, both availing the additional line of credit of 20%, and also people have been asking me even a couple of months before, should we offer the EMI moratorium, the working capital moratorium? For all the people, my simple advice was, if you can manage your cash flows, I know it's a burden, okay, of your personal investment, somehow you're able to muster from your working capital, from your inventory or data. If you can manage the cash flows, please don't offer the EMI moratorium or for the working capital moratorium, and more importantly, don't call for the additional line of credit. If it's necessary, it's a different scenario. You don't have any other option left, you'll have to go for it. But somehow, if you can manage with the existing cash flows, planning it in a better manner, I feel you should not go for the additional line of credit, because definitely becomes a huge burden, because the additional line of credit also comes with the interest. So apart from, so for example, you have 5 crores of loan already, the additional line of credit will be 20%. It's like 1 crore. So it's like a 6 crore of loan. So you'll have to continue to pay interest on that amount as well. So the next few months, meeting your fixed cost and existing interest commitments itself is going to be difficult. If you go to leverage more, this interest cost is only going to increase your fixed burden on a going on basis. So as much as possible, try to avoid. So to see if it's required or not, that's when the projected cash flow or the budgeting statement I said a few minutes before is essential. You try to plot your inflows and try to plot your outflows for the next 15 days, and try to work towards it and see what exactly you require. If your projected cash flow statement really comes to a deficit, and you're forced to look for funds beyond your personal funds or working capital, that's when truly you should go for the additional line of credit. Because else, if it's simply available and you take more of it, ultimately we'll have to face that burden and repay it in the future.
Correct. In fact, from Sea Change perspective, we always talk to our entrepreneurs or clients, whomever is talking about loans, working capital loans. As long as you have a clear sales strategy, as long as the money being spent on any of your OPEX is going to produce the real desired outcome in terms of revenue, you can always venture into it. The question is today, we want money, we take money, and we don't know how to deploy it, and we deploy it in some fashion. And finally, after 3 months, we scratch our head, there's no revenue. That's where you really get into trap. So ensure that you have a strategy in place before we really go to a bank for a borrowing loan. In fact, one of the persons, Mr. Venkat, thank you. One of the participants, Mr. Venkatraman, has mentioned in the chat box. He said that there is something called, is there an option to raise ECB loan, and is there any procedure and from whom we can raise? As ECBI loans are cheaper. This is one side of it.
Very honest to you, ECB is a very big concept of it. One is external commercial borrowing, where you will have to you're looking beyond India. You're looking to raise funds from abroad. It's an altogether a complicated subject by itself, because it has huge levels of conditions, FEMA regulations, and RBI appointments to that. It will be better if I can take it up that separately with them at a later stage post presentation.
That's what I also believe. In fact, connected to this, yesterday I received a message from one of our senior consultants, Mr. Chandra Chudan. He mentioned that this P2P lending, no, the P2P, peer-to-peer lending, is now picking up like anything. So members who are watching this, probably you can explore certain insights on P2P lending, peer-to-peer lending, which is in the offering in the marketplace. Probably it might add value to our requirements, funding requirements.
Even so I have a query on it, sir. In this sense, I have a query. I mean, sort of query for you. In a sense, like many of the MSMEs now, the government has come with a whole host of schemes, and the website has lots of schemes that are available. Because getting registered for MSME is only the step one, but people should be aware what are all the privileges and benefits that are available for an MSME, and how to approach and get it at the right time is even more essential. Even I am aware of many things, but even I am also not fully know the right avenue to utilize. Since I thought probably you are holding this position of you are heading the MSME position in the Andhra Chamber of Commerce as well. So I believe, is there a mechanism that you have to ensure entrepreneurs reach and utilize all the benefits of MSME?
Correct. Thank you very much for raising this question, because you are hitting nail on the head. Members are watching this, there are people who are experts in handling government schemes. You and me as an entrepreneur, we are not regularly doing those activities. Whenever we need money, whenever we need support, we go to bank once in a blue moon. We don't go every day to do this exercise, and we don't go to government offices every day to know what are the amendments they brought in for MSMEs and all that. So we have set of experts in the panel who are independent experts. It's like, typically I always quote this example. Suppose you have a vehicle and you get into some challenge, some accident or whatever, God forbidden. What happens is, we go to a shop, body shopping or whatever, the service center. We don't do actually our insurance processing. We only make a phone call to an insurance advisor who knows what kind of form to be filled. In fact, the forms are pretty simple form. Anybody can fill it up, but we don't do that. We don't exercise that. We simply make a phone call, and that guy will come talk to the service center, and he will say, puts a signature here, a couple of signatures here and there, and he will process it with the insurance company, and we get the money after 30 days or 45 days. Similarly, we have MSME independent scheme experts, whom we call. These people are ready to support, because they've been doing, their livelihood is only doing these schemes every single day, going to government offices, going to the MSME associations, collecting the papers, things like that. So I hope anybody who's keen on knowing the MSME schemes and the market link schemes, marketing schemes, working capital schemes, especially this 3 lakh crore, the stimulus, probably you can connect with me. The numbers are here. You can contact our office helpline, Mrs. Lata or Mrs. Srividya. The numbers are placed in the slide now. And you can ping us, you can WhatsApp us, email us. We will see how best we can support you by connecting to the right source. That's more important for you. You need to save your time. You can't just go pillar to post to ask for your money. Today we can't even go. So we will try to help you out as much as possible. I think with this, we have almost come to the end of the session. I must share my gratitude to Mr. Gopalakrishnan for sparing your valuable time, 1.5 hours, and preparation ahead of this. And thank you so much. I hope you are available always for our members, our participants, to reach out to you in case they want to.
Absolutely. Even
thank you very much once again, all the members. And I have a definitely. Thank you so much for your gesture. And I have a last slide to end up this session. In fact, Sea Change is actually, going to start with the more aggressive, interactive, the knowledge providers like Mr. Gopalakrishnan on various other domains, not just about finance alone. There are close to about 50 topics we have already listed out. And almost every day or every alternate day, we are going to post 1.5 hour session. At least till lockdown, every day will be there. After that, subsequently, we need to decide, because we have to get back to our jobs. So tomorrow, we are going to host this session. This is about digital transformation of MSMEs, which is going to be handled by Mr. M.K. Elango. He's a founder at Elan Digital. He's one of the digital transformation expert. He's been doing quite a lot of activities. He's been living, breathing on digital transformation for a long time. And tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., please join us. There is a web link. WebEx link is there, and then Sea Change Facebook Live link is also there. We will reach out to you through WhatsApp and other communication. You can also reach out to us through your WhatsApp messages to us so that we can share the link to you. And we will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. for a digital transformation of MSMEs webinar by Mr. M.K. Elango. With this, along with Mr. Gopalakrishnan Adesan, I thank each and every one of you for sparing your time, 1.5 hours. I hope this webinar is most useful to you, and stay connected with this. And I'll be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. for digital transformation. Thank you, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, and thank you, one and all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.